Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Lender Chat, sponsored and hosted by your dear friends at KFP Investors, your very favorite mortgage brokerage for investment real estate. I am Chris Fleming, and I will start with our disclaimer. KFP Investors LLC does not give legal, tax, economic, or investment advice. KFP Investors disclaims all liability for the action or inaction taken or not taken as a result of communications from or to its employees, contractors, clients, prospective clients, or participants. Each person should consult their own counsel, accountant, and other advisors as to legal, tax, economic, and investment advice. All right. I am here today with my dear friend, Carly Radzimanowski, who is one of the most impressive people that I know, not just as a human, but also as a real estate investor. And Carly, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Um, Tell us, I know how we met, but I would love for you to tell our audience how we met.
Yes, I had become an accidental landlord at a house that my family had occupied, and we relocated for a job we weren't sure was going to stick. So we rented our house in case we needed to move back into it eventually. So during that time, I started actually researching what it was to be a real estate investor and learned that as great as that house was, it didn't technically cash flow after you ran your numbers correctly. So we sold that and bought a portfolio, kind of rolled that money, and we had still lived there for the 2 of 5 years. So the capital gains rule, so we thought it was a good time to sell. So I bought my first portfolio, started doing the Burr method, trying to rehab one at a time and refinance out, and then ran into the problem of seasoning periods. And I was like, oh, well, I need this money out of this one so I can go do the next one. And I got on the Ren Facebook page and just asked for recommendations. What lenders do we have that don't have or have shorter seasoning periods or no seasoning period? And Kristen was recommended like 10 times. I was like, well, I should probably call Kristen. And she was amazing and helped me with that transaction and several others. And I honestly would not have been able to do a lot of my early deals without her assistance.
Well, I appreciate that. I just want everybody to hear that your first intentional endeavor into investment real estate was to buy an entire portfolio. I
Well,
hope everybody heard that.
that was not my plan. That's just how it worked out.
And how many properties were in that portfolio?
So it was a total of 13 properties, which added up to, there were some small multifamily, so it was 21 doors, but I wholesaled away 10 of those properties and kept just 3, and with a total of 8 doors. So a fourplex, a triplex, and a single family house I kept. And I bought all that for $145,000.
You bought all of that for $145,000.
Yeah,
Holy smokes.
it was
And
great.
what year was that? Just so everybody doesn't know, it was before you were born.
Yeah, January 2019.
How about that? Wow. And those were in Clarksville, right? The whole portfolio was in Clarksville?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. So one of the things that some of my friends and I discuss frequently is the challenge for most real estate investors of taking that first step. I have known folks who have studied and gone to meetings and read books for years and just are so apprehensive that they won't take the first step. So, one of the things I love about you and your story is that that was your first intentional endeavor into investment real estate. You were like, no, nothing's going to hold me back. Here I go. I
Learn,
love it.
learn as you fall.
I love it. I love it. One
And
of the
just to
coolest things.
clarify, I did when I first discovered like bigger pockets and going down that route of different podcasts and education. So I was really absorbing a lot of information. I was a stay-at-home mom. So while I was doing dishes, folding laundry, I probably listened to 6 to 8 hours of podcasts a day, just in the background while I was doing, all the busy work. So I definitely didn't go in totally blind. I learned as much as I could, but so much I didn't know. But yeah, you'll never, I'm still learning stuff and have so much. The more I learn, the more I realize I need to learn, and you will too.
Certainly, I did not mean to imply that you went in unprepared. I also remember that very clearly
No,
about,
you're good.
yeah, but I remember that very clearly about meeting you for the first time in person. And you brought me the most beautiful reports and pro formas and evaluations. And I had never, in all my years of lending, nobody had ever done that before. And I mean, I heard angels singing. It was so beautiful. You
You
made
do
it
love your
really.
data. I love it.
I do love my data. Yes, yes. I had some friends who were spreadsheeting with me the other day, and I was like, "Thank you guys." I had so much fun on a shared spreadsheet. Uh, so yes, I do love my data. That is true. Um, so you've told us how you got into investment real estate. What did you do after that? So what were your next steps? Because you've had quite the adventure.
Oh man, yeah. All kinds of things. I guess the high level kind of the notes of it, Cliff Note version would be, yeah, I had those 3 properties. I ended up selling the single family. That one was the only one occupied. Um, I was like, I'm just going to focus on small multifamily, and now I'm buying single family homes again. So I wish I would have kept that one, but sold that, and then had the fourplex, got that stabilized first, did the cash out refinance, then went and started working on the triplex. Actually converted it to a duplex. It just made more sense layout wise. And then eventually, what did I do? I think I bought my commercial property then. Across the street from that duplex, there was what I call a slum. And people laugh when I say that. They're like, oh, that's cute. I'm like, no,
No,
it
it's
was a
true. I saw
legit,
it. It was true.
a legit slum. It was a 10-unit apartment complex that was originally built as retail. And the most recent landlord had just slapped up a bunch of chipboard walls that's like basically plywood, and he used that instead of drywall. I love this because, and I quote, they can't punch a hole in it when they get a little rough with each other. I was like, oh boy. So he was trying to, I'm like, that's not the type of tenant class I want to rent to. Um, so he wanted to sell it real bad. It was his last property, the one he couldn't get rid of. He wanted to retire. He's in his early 70s. So he just kept bugging me. When are you going to buy it? When are you going to buy it? He was trying to sell it for $350,000. I ran my numbers on it. I'm like, there's no way I could pay you that. And I wrote him an offer one day just on a single piece of paper, like the most simple purchase and sale agreement. And it was for, I remember it was $264,000 and $40. And I told him, I'm like, I ran my numbers, and this is every possible dollar I can give you for it. And I'm like, there's no way he's going to take this. And I'm like, well, here's the offer, just think about it for a week and just let me know, thinking that he's going to try to counter or say, no way. And he was like, well, the numbers have to make sense. And he signed it right there and handed it back to me. And I was like, oh no, what have I done?
I accidentally bought this property for $100,000 less than asking price, which was more than a 25% discount.
Oh yes. I was like, all right. And it was a hot mess property, but I closed on that. Actually, we closed it first with owner financing, just because that was right when COVID had first started, and all the appraisers were so far back. I was trying to get lending with Kristen, and the financing was just so delayed because appraisers were so far booked out, and he was just ready to, wash his hands of it. So I'm like, well, give me a couple months of owner financing. So we did that. So we closed it first with owner financing. And then once the lending came through, we just cashed him out, and he was free and clear of it. and got to work with a construction line of credit. And what was supposed to be a 9-month project turned into 3 years. And actually, I have a lease signed. And this month, this is where I'm coming from today. This property, I should get the certificate of occupancy for this last unit. I'm thinking tomorrow or Monday. And as soon as I get that, she'll start paying rent. And that'll be my first cash flow positive month since I purchased the property.
Wow.
Not great. Not great. But there's a ton of equity in it. It's, spitting distance to downtown, which is getting a lot of financial capital infusion from government and all kinds of investors. So it's very much in the path of progress, and it'll be a good return. And I have most of my cash out of it, so it's not too bad. But it's definitely been a hard one. With COVID, it took me 11 months just to get the property vacant to be able to get working on it. So it's been a change.
Because right when you needed to evict people, they put a moratorium on evictions.
Right? Yeah, and I only had to do one eviction, fortunately. And that guy, I was told, dealt heroin to his family members. So I don't feel bad about evicting him. Everyone else, I helped rehome. That was a really long process. It probably would have been long anyways, but I think COVID just complicated it that much more, because I think so many landlords were afraid to take on tenants, especially lower income tenants, because they were scared of the moratorium and not being able to evict them if they had to, and that being a higher risk tenant. It was very challenging to have people to move into. So that was another fun lesson. But still, during that process, I sold that. I've actually sold my whole portfolio from the original purchase, but that fourplex, I did a 1031 exchange and rolled that money into a short-term rental property in Goodlettsville. So I live in Hendersonville, so it's only 20 minutes from where I live, and it's some land and a pretty good sized house, only 20 minutes from downtown Nashville, and that's been a fun one as well.
Very good. Very good. And I think you have a little commercial experience too, right?
Yes, was and am. I was exclusively a commercial agent specializing in multifamily and land development. And I did that for about 2.5 years. And then just this past January, since I do a lot of my own investing, it just made more sense to go out on my own and start my own brokerage. And I don't have any agents under me. Thank you. So now I can do more residential and commercial, do a mix, do my own projects that I enjoy. And right now I'm helping a client of mine that called me, was it last Thursday? It's I think it was a week ago. It was about a week ago. She called me and said, I have $871,000 of 1031 money. Can you help me spend it by the end of the month? And I said, yes, I can.
By the end of this month that we're right now in?
Oh, yes, ma'am. We saw 15 properties between Friday and Saturday of last week. I had 2 under contract by the end of the weekend and had the inspection on one of them yesterday. We close on one of them next Wednesday of next week, and the other one next Friday.
I'm telling you, friends, this is a lady who gets it done. Gets it done, period.
Well, it helps when you have a big pile of cash.
It does help when you have a big pile of cash, but even when you didn't have a big pile of cash, you were getting it done.
I had no cash in the beginning. Absolutely. Yeah, so I love being able to help give people options. The dream is to create an income stream that, you can still work if you want to, but you don't have to work, and you're not tied to, a W-2 job until you're 65 years old. You can, and hope to retire. That was my pet peeve. It just didn't make sense. I was looking around. I'm like, I know a lot of really smart, extremely hardworking people that are, in their upper 60s and not able to retire yet. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head as one thing that I see as a very common theme through virtually all real estate investors is living life on our own terms. Um, I can never go back to, I hope to God, knock on wood, never go back to clocking in and putting in for vacation time and all the rest of that. I can't do it. I can't do it. So, well, good. Well, thank you for sharing that. And forgive me, my questioning got derailed momentarily. Let's see.
Yeah, you don't want to give me too much quiet space. I'll just keep talking.
Well, another one of my favorite stories that I recall is you had someone who was interested in getting into investment real estate, and you offered, or she asked, I'm not sure which, to mentor her, and you said sure, and she spent the day with you working on some of your extremely maintenance deferred houses. And I
And it was
recall her
gross.
telling
It was a
me,
gross house.
yeah, I recall her telling me how she was asking you questions and picking your brain as you made her scrub an oven.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she saved me like $300 not have to buy a new oven. Because it worked just fine. It was just disgusting. And she cleaned the whole thing. And now she and I own 5 houses together.
Isn't that fun? I love that. I love that. Um, so what kind of work do you do? I mean, you've got some involvement in the REA chapter in Nashville.
Mhm.
So working in Ren, and what other kinds of fun activities are you doing that contribute to the real estate investor world?
I feel like that's a leading question that I don't even know. What is? You probably know better than I do. It's like my husband. I'm like, oh, this is my favorite. He's like, no, this is your favorite. I'm like, oh, you're right.
I
Um,
love, yeah, I do love that about your husband. He's so brilliant. He's precious. Yeah.
what else
Uh,
am I doing? Yeah, I do. I have my own brokerage. I have my commercial property. I really enjoy the short-term rental. Um, I've been scaling back. That was part of, which seems counterintuitive to start your own brokerage. You're like, that's scaling back. But again, just to have, no one else have control over your time and that kind of that
yeah.
in the back of your head, worrying about, oh, are they thinking I'm not doing enough or whatever. So
Hmm.
that's actually helped reduce my stress and my time commitment significantly.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, been selling properties and just trying to focus more on the brokerage and growing that aspect of it. I do enjoy the DIY. Like today, I was hanging doors and painting and doing that stuff. I'm trying to limit that as much as possible because you can't scale when you're doing everything yourself. But I guess just trying to decide how much I actually do want to scale and just figuring out what amount of, I don't know, investments versus brokerage stuff
Uh-huh.
lends to the best lifestyle balance that I want.
I
But the
understand.
long term goal is with the short term rental property that is
Hmm.
on just under 28 acres, and
Hmm.
13 of those acres are commercially zoned. So we
Hmm.
have, and we don't even know exactly what we want to do with it yet, but some type of either gymnasium or event venue or combination with maybe some cabins sprinkled throughout. So still
Uh-huh.
trying to figure out exactly what that's going to look like. But in the meantime, the house, pays for the property. So we're just kind of cruising.
Good. Very good. Very good. And one of my favorite questions is, if you could give your younger self three pieces of advice, what would they be?
It cut that out there for a second. Was it give my younger self advice?
Yes, please.
Okay. Hmm. that maybe it took me a long time to realize this. Most people don't know what they're doing.
I agree. We all have that
Even
imposter
doctors and
syndrome at the
lawyers.
back of our heads, right?
Yes. Yeah. And just, I guess, man, because I do love consulting the experts. I learned so much when you find the person who is so passionate about HVAC that they'll spend 20 minutes explaining to you the ins and outs of how HVAC systems work. I just let them go because I learned so much. And I've said this before. I'm like, even if a lot of times those people are overpriced, not overpriced because there's immense value there, but I'm like, ooh, this one's a tighter budget. I can't use you for this one. But I learned so much that I am able, kind of your BS meter, because there's a lot of people in all industries, but I think especially in real estate and renovation type stuff, different vendors that even ones who think they know what they're doing, and they're going to end up costing you so much more money because they're going to do it wrong. So I can, more than once, I've been listening to someone and I'm like, but that's not how Mike explained to me how it works. And I know he knows what he's talking about. So I don't think you know what you think you know. So being able to have the confidence to recognize when, I don't know, just not blindly trust everybody who says they know what they're talking about.
Yeah. I think I was in my early 30s before I heard of imposter syndrome and understood that almost everybody has that. I didn't know that. I just walked around the world thinking, oh my goodness, they're going to figure out one of these days that I have no idea what's going on and I don't belong here. Now I keep telling people I don't know what's going on, I don't belong here, and they keep telling me that I do. So we've done some sort of reversal.
Yeah.
And what else would you tell your younger self, Carly?
Probably because you do have to watch expenses, especially when doing a renovation and just anything. The reason I don't have any agents under me is because I can have my home as my office. So I don't have, rent. If I get agents, I all of a sudden have to have a brick and mortar location. So, it's good to keep costs low at the beginning, but I always think of on that fourplex, I was renovating it and the roof was leaking during a rainstorm. And I was like, oh, I'll get it patched. I spent $1,200 getting it patched. 3 weeks later, I was in there laying flooring or doing something, and a different area was leaking. And I was like, oh my gosh, I go have the whole thing. I'm doing the whole thing. Had the whole thing replaced for like $7,000. And I'm like, but I just wasted like $1,200 on this repair when I just needed to replace the whole thing. So if you're doing a big project up front, just do it all. And then you don't have, not only the additional ticky-tacky expenses piling up on you, but you don't have your tenant then calling you at 3 a.m. during a giant storm. There's water. Just pulled up to my house and it jumped on my internet. That's probably why.
Oh, gotcha. So you were telling us about if you went ahead and replaced the roof, then you don't have tenants calling you at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yes, saying there's water pouring in from the ceiling, and it just reduces anything you can do to reduce your headache factor is money well spent, I think.
Oh, that's great advice. Anything you can do to reduce your headache factor is money well spent. That's, yeah, I think we can run ourselves ragged by trying to put band-aids. And sometimes you just need surgery.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Okay. And do you have one more item to share with us regarding advice?
Oh, man.
You get 3. You get to tell yourself 3.
Yes. Hold on. I know you'll appreciate that's my eviction dog.
Oh, did you say eviction dog?
My eviction dog. She got left behind.
Oh.
Yes, my husband says I kicked a guy out of his house, stole his dog, and chopped off his foot. So that's a story for another day. Technically all true. That's not how I tell it.
What's the dog's name?
Tally. That's the name of the
Hi,
street that the house was
Daddy.
on that she came from. I do have one more piece of advice. I had it, and then she ran up to me. I'm not frozen. I'm thinking. My brain's frozen.
That's
Um,
okay. While you're thinking, I will. So, everybody, there's a mess around T-Rex because he found a stick that he could chew on, and I have let him do that, and I'm going to vacuum it up. You can see this place is still widely under construction, but there's my favorite rescue baby. There's T-Rex.
Sweet. I do remember it. Um, when you have really big goals for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
it's, I think, at least for me, it's very easy to get like super frustrated and impatient when you're not, when you
Mm.
still feel like so far away from where you know you're gonna be. I was like, but I want to be there now. And
Yeah.
it helps to, it's like, for example, on this 3-year long commercial project, it's like, oh my gosh, there's still so much to do. How am I still so far away? And I'll just go into my camera and look at some of the original photos and of like the initial demo, and I'm like, oh my gosh, look how much different. Look where it, how far it's come. So, even me not knowing a thing about real estate investing at all halfway through 2018, and 5 years later, certainly no brilliant expert. I say I won't let myself call myself an expert until I've successfully made it all the way through a downturn. So like,
Well, I
like
call you an
anybody can
expert.
write.
I also call you real estate royalty. So
Uh,
I'm very excited to be able to say, I know her. I know her.
I'll
Yeah.
take it. I'll take it. But yes, looking at how far you've come in such a short time, and it's like, okay, like,
Mhm.
I'm only, how old am I? 34. I'm only 34. I'm like, I have potentially 40, 50 more years of investing in real estate. And I'm only 5 years in. So it's like, okay, I've got a lifetime left of learning and experimenting and trying different techniques and achieving the goals that I've set, and changing those goals because the goals change too. And that's fine.
I think I'm sure that's part of why I wanted to share your story is that you have accomplished so much in 4 to 5 years, more than what a lot of real estate investors accomplish in multiple decades. And I want people to see that it is possible, that it does take a unique tenacity, but it is possible. And so if you are the person with the unique tenacity, get out there and get after it. So I appreciate you coming to share with us. So how can we and our network help you at this time? What are you looking for? What resources do you need?
What resources do I need? Well, I would love to list your property. If you're in the Middle Tennessee area, I'd love to help you sell either your personal home or your investment properties. I have a few clients looking for small multifamily. Um, I have some larger clients looking for some larger stuff, but I'm not sure if that's going to move right now. Um, but yeah, I'd love to help you with small multifamily, single family, land, anything. I love creative problem solving. So even if you just have a situation that you're not sure how to resolve, I'd be happy to chat with you about it and see if I can be a sounding board and come up with any new ideas that can give you something to research.
I love that. And you know what? I hope you don't hate me for this. I'm gonna spring one on you
Oh boy.
that yeah. So I'm interested with your very qualified position. What is your sense about what should people continue to buy investment real estate right now? Is this a good time? What's the market going to do, Carly? What do you think?
Hmm. Well, I think it's always a good time to buy real estate.
Me too. Time
Yeah.
in the market is more valuable than timing the market.
Yes. So like for example, my commercial property, if like I thought I was gonna make a lot more money than I will make, but I'm still after all the challenges and immense delays, should
Mhm.
still come out on top profit wise. And the longer I hold, obviously with the area going up, hopefully. Um, But if you don't have enough reserves available and you miscalculate something, or a worldwide pandemic comes up and totally derails all of your plans, and the lumber package quadruples in price, totally blowing your budget before you even got started, um, you need to have the reserves, or be able to know the people who you could bring into your circle to help you kind of get through. Because I don't know if you ever play the cash flow game. If you just go all out and buy a bunch of stuff and you get bankrupt, it's when you can't float the notes, and then you have to sell everything, and you still lose the game. There's no
Yeah,
recovering.
yeah.
um, so just run your numbers very conservatively and be willing to pivot and get creative and find alternate solutions.
I think that's one thing that I keep trying to reiterate to folks, particularly those who have gotten into investment real estate in the last several years, that um, it's the recipe that you have created and have done for the last several years is not the same recipe that's going to likely be successful today. That doesn't mean stop. That means find the recipe that works for today. Use the recipe that works for today. Um, I don't, like I said, I heard the quote a while back, and I'm sure plenty of people have said it, but time in the market is more valuable than timing the market. So
Mhm.
figure out what works today and keep going because,
Yes. And if you overpay for a property, it's going to take a lot more time. You will eventually recover, maybe 20 years. So
mhm,
just always try to keep your basis as low as possible. Um,
mhm,
and yeah, just run your numbers really conservatively and then
mhm,
just jump.
right. Yeah, and how much opportunity is lost by standing on the sidelines? And typically by the time everybody else says, okay, go, you're already too late.
Yeah.
So thank you for letting me spring that on you. So, how can we contact you, Carly?
Phone or email. Text is usually the best bet, but since I'm a agent or broker, I pretty much always answer my phone as long as I'm not in the middle of something. If there's a pause, though, you're going to get hung up on, because I get a lot of spam calls. Can I buy your property? And there's always a pause at the beginning. So as soon as I hear that pause, click. So I
Mm-hmm.
apologize if I hang up
Mm-hmm.
on you. But yeah, feel free to call me anytime, shoot me a text. I'm sure you can. I've never used this format before, this Ring Central. You can feel free to put my number and email in the chat if there is a chat. And oh yeah, there it is. And yeah, come to
Yeah,
a REN
very good.
meeting. I'm usually there. You can bump into me.
I also have your website here,
Yay!
restoredrealtytn.com. So that is restored, like restoring, but already done, restoredrealtytn.com.
And my
So folks,
sweet
check
husband
out
made that
Carly.
website for me.
I know, and he did such a great job with the design and the logo. And I mean, I'm telling you, I'm a big fan of your husband. Big fan of you. Maybe a little bit more of John. Could be. Um, well, this is the part where I do my book report, as Kimber calls it. And this month's book was Invest in Debt by Jimmy Napier. And a lot of the more experienced folks around the real estate investor network meetings and groups use these strategies and have recommended this book over and over. You can see by my number of flags, I got a lot of positive information about this book. I will say, contrary to last month's book, this one was a very easy and entertaining read. Um, there was there's tons of nuggets of truth in here, and wisdom. For example, this simply means that for every $1,000 I invested at 15%, that money would generate $18,822 for me by the time I reach retirement. Here's the nugget though. This also means that if I make a mistake and pay $1,000 in taxes that could legally be avoided, there would also be a loss of $18,822 in additional retirement dollars. So, think of it not just as what you can grow by investing, but also what you can avoid losing. I think that's a fantastic perspective. Let's see. Another quote and theme that he repeats in this book is any person not born into wealth or who has a family that is not financially solvent must serve this same monetary sacrifice period to prepare for a better and brighter future. So he discusses the idea that you can sacrifice now to get your investment real estate going, or you can sacrifice later by not having the financial security at a future date when maybe you are less able to work. So the basis of this book is about buying mortgage notes, not necessarily investment real estate, but the debt on the real estate, and different ways to do that, different ways to calculate the returns. He also says that only the IRS and the uneducated believe that the number on the face of the note is its true value. So I think he's got a whole chapter about we do not pay retail. So if you have any interest whatsoever in exploring the idea of investing in notes, if you want to learn how to calculate returns on debt and how to use your handy dandy financial calculator to do so, this is a fantastic book. I also forgot to grab next month's book, but I am committed to one book a month to read for my own edification and education and review here for you so that you have additional resources for education as you continue to grow your business. So about a year ago, a friend recommended to me a book called The Psychology of Money, and it's been sitting on my bookcase for about a year now. And so that will be the book that I present to you next, is The Psychology of Money. Let's see, this coming weekend, no, not the one that starts the day after tomorrow, the following weekend, I will be at the Ultimate Creative Deal Workshop hosted by the REA Ohio chapters. And folks, if you all are interested in anything that is outside of the standard transaction, get yourself involved with these folks, get yourself educated. It is incredible the things that people can come up with and do. And I swear, I mean, it's going to be 4 days of people who are experienced in squeezing two dimes together and getting a $10 bill to pop out. It's amazing. So, excuse me, just one moment. I'm still trying to get rid of that 11-year-old's cough. So that is what we've got going on. The next lender chat will be, the next live lender chat will be, let me give you that date here, May 18th, Thursday, May 18th. We'll send out notifications. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel. We've got lots of recordings going up. This one will go up. And Carly, thank you so much for joining us today. I don't know whose hand is there. Hello. Is it my friend? No. Oh, hi, kids. Carly, thank you so much for joining us and letting me ask you all kinds of personal questions. You're very sweet and kind and generous.
Oh, happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Always love talking about real estate. And John, my husband always says, go make more real estate friends so you can talk to them about this and not me. Okay.
I love to John and the kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, guys.